Hi, everyone. It's Nina Collins at the Woolfer, and I'm here today with Marla Wynne Ginsburg. And Marla is an entrepreneur who's had this really incredible pivot story that we're going to talk about. She is now a clothing designer who sells, is it all sold on HSN or is it also?
No, in fact, well, no, it isn't. We're opening up more and more retail stores around the world.
All right, we'll get to that in a sec. So let me just briefly say, so Marla had this whole huge career as a film producer, correct? Not director,
TV.
producer, TV, mostly in Europe. And then things fell apart. I'm not sure exactly why in the early 2000s.
Oh, it's simple, honey. Writer's strike, financial meltdown in this country, being a 50-year-old woman in an industry that eats its young, let alone its menopausal. And then the whole real estate crash in California. So all those things happened. It was a perfect storm. And I ended up in my garage with a sewing machine.
It's insane. So I want to know back, like, why did you had this huge career in TV in Europe? Why in Europe? Where are you originally from? And how old are you?
How old are you, Nina?
I'm 51.
Okay, I just turned 65 and I got my Medicare card and I just went, this is not possible. Like there's
You're not really 65, are you?
good genes, baby, and I'm not talking denim. Yeah. I mean, I'm very lucky, but I look in the mirror, I see how I feel, and then I look at my wallet and see Medicare, and I just can't believe it. Yes,
better Medicare than not.
But so what was the question? The question was,
I'm curious because it's just kind of unlikely. Like, didn't you work on stuff like La Femme, Nikita
and Highlander? Yeah. What happened was that I've always been ruled by my fantasies and my heart. And so, gosh, I was in Paris for 20 some years. So, but I was moving up the food chain in Hollywood, but I was the girl that everyone liked to ski with. I was like the best friend to the guys, but never their date. And I had this vision of myself being a 60-year-old woman living in an apartment with cottage cheese ceilings and too many cats.
Yeah.
And I wasn't, I was like, I could do business with the boys. I could ski with the boys. But I wasn't a pretty little blonde, I wasn't there. I don't know what it just wasn't happening. And I wanted more out of life, and I wanted more out of life than, starting to run calls at 7 a.m. on the 405 because it took me an hour and a half to get to the studio.
Yeah.
And as luck would have it, I fell in love with someone in Europe and decided that it was a very good life plan for me to just give up my career. And I was one of those, 30 under 30 to watch in Hollywood. I was one of the highest paid women in television, blah, blah, blah.
I was a 30 under 30 in Cranes.
Well, there you go. So I was a 30 under 30 now, like they don't even go, like they just like hope I'm still alive. But, but I fell in love with a guy in Europe. I found a job in Europe. I didn't speak a word of anything other than English. And I moved to Paris and I built the first really big non-English speaking international TV company with Highlander and La Femme Nikita. Met my Prince Charming there. 10 or 12 years later, he was less charming. So I moved, right. So then I moved back to the States under contract to Touchstone when Susan Lyne was running.
I remember. Yeah.
And that was after I'd done La Femme Nikita and Highlander and whatnot. And then came the writer's strike.
Okay.
Financial meltdown.
So around 2007,
2007 was like 2007 when the strike happened. I was like, okay, this isn't good. And then when the market crashed, it was really bad for me because I had done what you do. I had bought a house that I could actually afford, and I had money in the market, and my multi-million-dollar home kind of financially slid down the mountain it was built on. My stock portfolio went to duty, and I had to pull out of the market because I didn't want to go into bankruptcy.
Right.
And so I literally lost everything in a space of 6 to 8 months between the market and the house. So I ended up selling my house on a short sale, moving to Canada.
Why are you originally
up there? No, but I was represented an idiot. First of all, who leaves Paris to go to LA? I mean, first of all, you should be questioning my sanity right there, right? Then I moved to Canada because I was with CAA And I had called Kevin Huvane and said, Kevin, like, I'm going to move into your 6th floor conference room if something doesn't happen here pretty quick. And I showed them my clothes, and they literally, CAA got me onto, well, now, yeah, CAA, yeah, got me onto HSN and helped
Wait,
me.
no, I want to back up because I want to know a couple more things. So, okay, so your life falls apart, the relationship is over,
Yeah.
you're back in America. So
Two
why,
kids.
what, 2 kids? Oh, 2 kids with the guy from Europe?
Two guys, yeah, 2 kids from one guy who to this day is one of my favorite people on the planet Earth, but we
Okay.
live better on separate continents.
Okay, so that's good. So then why the turn to clothing? Like, had you always wanted to be a clothing designer? Did you know anything about fabric? Like,
Well,
why?
what I actually knew about clothing before I went into the business was how to buy it. But I had a very strong sartorial sensibility. I have never been like a fashionista, like this is happening, so I need to wear it. Like, I don't care what the color of the year is. I don't care what the style of the year is. I'm sorry. I still think tennis shoes look ugly. I like, right. And I just had my own sort of point of view about how to dress. And I have always looked the same. I mean, I've worn the same clothes when I was 20 that I wear at 60. So I'm boring. But when I lived in Europe, my kid's dad did a lot of the finances for some of the top people at LVMH.
Okay.
And so I knew a lot of those people. And one of my best friends was a woman named Yafa Assouline, who started Press Assouline, those beautiful tabletop books.
Yeah.
And Yafa was also friends with like Sydney Toledano, who runs Dior. And so I would get invited to the front row of these fashion shows, and I'd show up in my little, whatever, and there'd be, everybody fabulous, but I didn't understand fashion and I could go to them. So I did. And I said to Sydney one day, I don't understand your business. Those clothes were gorgeous on the runway, but who wears that? Nobody wears those clothes, because of course they do. But I didn't understand anything about our business. So one day, Sydney's what we call in France a pied noir. He's a Moroccan Jew. There was a Catholic holiday, and Sydney said to me, okay, us 2 Jews, meet me over at Dior on Avenue Montaigne. And we started at the top floor, which was at the time Galliano's studio. And he wound me down and wound me down. The things I saw, I could do 2 hours on what I saw that day. Anyway, I learned a lot. And we ended up in the licensing department. He goes, all this, lipsticks, handbags, shoes. And I started to understand that high fashion and couture is really marketing.
Mm-hmm. It's about bringing people to the brand.
And it's incredible artistry.
Right, of course.
I identified very quickly that I am not a John Galliano. I am an untrained woman who knew what she wanted to wear. But because I'd lived all over the world, I would say that my particular sartorial sensibility is very global. There are things I take from the Scandinavian countries that I like. There's things from Israel that I like. There are certainly things from Paris and Italy that I like. And my life has never been decorated. It's been collected. And my wardrobe was the same way. And I had always wanted to do one of 2 things. Other than be in the entertainment industry, which eats its young, let alone its menopausal. I had wanted to do stand-up comedy. I had studied it.
Okay.
And I thought, I can tell jokes about aging, girlfriend, because you either laugh or you shoot yourself. And the second thing is I always wanted to have my own talk show, because as much as I talk, I am fascinated by every stranger I meet. And I don't care if it's in the back of a cab or an Uber.
Me too. Yeah, I'm the same way.
Everybody has a story.
Totally.
Everybody has a story.
Yeah.
And they're way more interesting. You know who are the most interesting people in New York? Cab drivers who come from overseas.
Oh yeah.
You meet engineers, you meet doctors, you meet lawyers, you meet designers who are driving a cab. And when you take their talent and mix it with their humility and the humbling experience they've had, I've learned more in the backseat of a cab than almost anywhere else except Google. And so, to me, I wanted to either have a talk show or be a clothing designer because I loved clothes. And by actually ending up on HSN and QVC, I kind of got both. I do a lot of comedy on air. I talk to my customers and I talk with the hosts, and I get to design clothes and I get free clothes, and it doesn't get better than that.
It's really pretty incredible. So now it's 13 years later, you have a brand that it's like $50 million is about.
We closed 2020. This makes very few things really make me teary-eyed. Some AT&T commercials, some family history, and the fact that I started this in my garage, broke. I was leasing out a bedroom in my house to make ends meet in 2008.
Wow.
And isn't it crazy? Isn't it crazy? Why does this make me cry? And every time I'm interviewed, the same thing happens.
Pretty incredible.
In 2000, last year, we closed out the year over 60 million.
Wow.
And when I think back that I turned in my BMW, I took back the car that I gave my daughter on her 16th birthday. I drained the pool, fired the gardener, leased out a room in my house, learned to make, meatloaf on Monday that turned to marinara sauce by Friday, and survived it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm not a drug addict or an alcoholic. Yeah.
Incredible. And you were 50.
COVID may turn me into both, but
and you were over 50 at the time, if I do the math right. So how did you start? Like, I'm super interested in the actual nuts and bolts. Like, did you create something? Like, I'm wearing one of your sweaters and I absolutely love it.
Thank you so much.
It's really great. I'm wearing it over like a cami, and it's got really nice like detail here, and it's super, super soft. And I was wearing it yesterday actually with nothing underneath. And
You got a hell of a cleavage there, girlfriend.
Well, I'm working it. I've got the right.
Wait another 10 years. There will not be a bra that will give that to you.
As an aside about like making fun of menopause, this week I did a show in Clubhouse with Stacey London, and we were talking about Botox. And I was like, you know what? I haven't had Botox in a year because of COVID. I'm not going back. And today I had to record a video of myself. And I was so depressed by how I looked. I called my dermatologist and made a Botox appointment.
I always say I'll never have a facelift. And today I said to my son, well, just that. And like, I'd like my eyeballs back. But I will say this about that, and then I'll go back to where we were. If you spend these years trying to be what you were, you are going to lose.
Right.
So, like I got this is actually a sunspot. Thank you. Like an age spot that I got, but it was here. It'll be here soon. But to go have that removed, I could have scarring. So I have a spot. I've sort of chosen to age proudly publicly.
Yeah. No, it's
what
really
I do.
great advice. Like, I mean, I do say to myself all the time, I mean, look, I'm not 27 anymore. This is who I am. This is what I am. And you're right. That's the struggle with all this Botox and cosmetic stuff, because you end up looking weird if you do all that shit.
But
really.
You do end up looking weird, and I need my eyebrows to move. And, I think, look, aging is a process that is challenging. But if you challenge yourself to be what you were, then you don't have a shot in hell of becoming what you can become. And as somebody who spends a lot of my time on TV, I don't want to spend every waking moment like, I got roots and I don't care. I actually do have black roots. I have, my hair takes this long to fix. And this face, I've got a product I've just developed, which is called Daily Sunshine, which is like tea based that gives, I don't care if you're black, yellow skinned, red, whatever skin you are, it just gives you a little bit of a glow. Cause I am the great white hope.
And you sell it as part of your business?
We're developing it right now and to bring to market. But the point is, I have on some mascara. I have some gloss. I have that on, a little schmutz under the eye to, I use 5 products because either I'm going to spend the next 20 years trying to look better, or I can spend the next 20 years trying to be.
Yeah. Yeah, it's great advice.
And so I'm going to just wrinkle, age, and sag and make fun of it because does bother me. It's not like I go, oh, this is great and this is great. No, it's not. But I think it is who I am. It is actually authentically what I am. And I think I've built this brand by being super authentic. I will say all the time, if you're a pear-shaped woman app, don't buy this. It won't be good on you, but give me 5 minutes. I've got something for you. I've been honest with my customers that I learned from them. Yeah. I learned from them.
Yeah, absolutely.
And over the years, I've learned to sketch. I've learned to draw. I've learned to design. I've learned to know what the hell I'm doing. But it didn't start out that way. I mean, what possessed me?
Tell us a little bit about how it started, and then I want for our listeners and viewers to really understand what the whole company is. But tell me how you actually got started, because the reinvention part is fascinating.
So I had been toying with this idea of being a clothing designer because there were certain pieces I noticed I lived in. I dress in a uniform. And I thought, and people would always say, you dress so well. And in Hollywood, to get a you dress so well, or in Paris, that's
That
quite a
takes a lot.
compliment.
Yeah, yeah.
But it was the simplicity of my clothing. And I think the strength, like my I do big jewelry, right? Like my clothes are canvas and the jewelry's like, it's the tree and the ornaments. And I just felt like this was something I could do somehow. And having spent so much time in Europe and learning so much and having a world purview, that when the writer's strike hit, I really started thinking about this. And friends of mine would come over, and I went out and bought a sewing machine, which was ridiculous. I bought a serger, which is one of the hardest machines you can use because it has multiple bobbins. It's like your kid coming to you and saying, Mom, I want to learn guitar. So would you buy me a 12 string? Right. Not what you do, So I started, like, I mean, every mistake you could make, I made it. It was like a really poorly cast episode of Project Runway, only it was life or death because I had two kids who annoyingly wanted to eat.
Did you even know how to sew? Like,
No.
I can't do sewing machine.
No.
Crazy. Okay.
So, but there's Google. Like, I've decided you can Google everything but like be a brain surgeon. Like, you cannot Google how to be a doctor, but just about everything else, right? So I just started Googling and watching videos, and that's how I learned to do the sewing machine. Anyway, I made in secret I had an idea about layering. Before layering was a big deal, my whole thing was about layers. Like the piece you have, there's pieces that go under it, there's different pans and just kind of granimals for grownups, if you know what I mean. And so I just did it, but funny confluence of Hollywood and my clothing thing and the willing to put it out into the universe. If I were to tell people, like, what's the first thing you have to do? You have to put it out into the universe. And that sounds so woo, and I'm the least woo.
No, I believe it. People say it, but what does that really mean in this case? Like,
I'll tell you exactly. Yeah. So I had lunch scheduled at a place in the Valley with the head of business affairs from NBC. I just wanted to pick his brain. What should I do? Should I pivot? What am I doing? But meanwhile, I had been sewing and futzing. And Rick doesn't show up for lunch. And indignantly, I call his, because now I'm unemployed. He's employed. Right. You know how Hollywood is. Yeah. As soon as, you're not important, the chair you sit in is. And so I'm like, my 3,000 contacts have winnowed down to I can put them in this hand. So I'm waiting for lunch, but I'm, kind of feeling bad about myself and disenfranchised. And he doesn't show up for lunch. So I call his office and I'm like, we have lunch. She goes, Marla, it's next Wednesday. And I went, oh God. And I said, I would fire my assistant immediately if I had one, but unfortunately my assistant is me. So never mind, I'll see him next week. But I decided, because it was right at, we had been on strike for a while. I was bored to tears. I was watching money like a bulldog, and I had not gone out to eat. So I decided, because there's a great restaurant in the Valley, I'm just going to sit by myself. I'm going to read the trades, and I'm probably going to have a glass of wine because I don't have to go anywhere.
Yeah.
And so I'm sitting there, and this couple next to me are arguing about the menu for their son's bar mitzvah. And if they didn't get divorced, I'm amazed. And it so happens my son's bar mitzvah was coming up. So I'm listening to this arguing over chocolate versus cheesecake. And I'm worried about how I'm going to pay my mortgage. And in my little way, I just turned over and I said, thank you so much. And by the way, I'd go with chocolate cake. And if you don't mind, I'm just going to use your whole menu for my son's bar mitzvah because it's coming up and you've just saved me a whole battle. They laughed. And the guy says to me, well, what do you do for a living? Nina, I don't know why I said it at this moment, but my whole life would have changed if if lunch was that Wednesday, those two people hadn't sat next to me and he hadn't asked me what I do. And I don't know what possessed me, but I said, I'm a clothing designer.
Oh my God. And
not a TV executive, not a TV. He said, really? He said, well, I happen to work for a clothing company and we're looking for brands. What's your target? And I started tap dancing, and 4 weeks later I had a deal.
Wow.
Yeah. But think of all the things that I had to be unemployed.
Yeah.
I had to get the date wrong. I had to go to that restaurant. I had to decide to eat lunch alone. I did have a good glass and a half of Pinot. And I had to be snarky and smart ass enough and
And
bold.
really out there. I guess the message is really brave, right? Really kind of.
I just put it out there. And the next thing I knew, I had to show up with things called CADs and I didn't know what they were. And I had to have a storyboard and I didn't know what it was. And by the time 2 weeks later, when I was in his boss's office, I was ready. The guy put me on a plane to Peru because he had factories there. He said, go buy a bunch of factories. I'm sending you to Peru for 10 days, flew me first class, treated me like a little princess. And I worked my tushy off.
And that's where you started making the clothing in Peru?
Yeah.
Wow.
But he was heavily invested in LA real estate. So even though we had orders from HSN and Nordstrom's, he pulled out. He pulled out before we delivered because he, I think, lost some money in real estate and didn't want to risk on me. So there I am.
So a
Like,
lot of stops and starts, kind of.
oh my God, stops and starts. I mean, listen, it's easy to go, oh, look,
Look what's happened. Well, so
10
how
years is a long time.
when did you start on HSN?
I had a small teeny launch and I guess it was 2009. And then I had another speed bump because I had a manufacturer in Canada because CAA got me a deal with this company in Canada and it wasn't working. The stuff they were making wasn't good. And I got called by HSN and they said to me, we think you could be a big success here because my first few shows were really good. And they said, but you got to change manufacturers. And so they gave me a list of people in New York. I'm living in Montreal at the time. And they said, pick one. I was so broke then, Nina. I mean, I was the girl who flew to Vegas on the MGM jet, you know. I was the girl who flew first class with 2 kids and a nanny in tow. And all of a sudden, I am the girl on the overnight Greyhound bus between Montreal and New York. So it beat the arrogance out of me. It gave me a ton of humility and it humbled the hell out of me.
Yeah.
And I probably deserved it.
Yeah, no, I get that.
But I took that Greyhound bus back and forth between Montreal and New York until I found my manufacturers. I'd arrive at Port Authority, horrible place. And I would sit at the Starbucks, I think on the corner of like 75th or 76th and wait for them to open. I would couch surf across my friends while I was in New York. And then I'd get back on it and go back to Montreal where I had my daughter. My son was at that time living in Canada, in Holland, because the first year I took the job up there, he needed to be with his dad and his dad was in Europe. And I was going to have to travel a lot for the job I had in Montreal. And so I said, okay, smarty pants, you want a year with your dad? You got it. What I didn't count on is that he was going to love Holland. What I also didn't count on, that's a pretty cool place. What I also didn't count on was that when he turned 18, so I was like 2 years into my clothing business, 3 years after relaunching it, I'd moved to New York and I get a call that my son has stage 3 Hodgkin's lymphoma.
Oh no.
So he was 18 at the time. He's 26 now and he's fine. He's in full remission. I'm just waiting for the frontal lobe to close. And, you know, I mean, I just wrapped up everything, didn't tell anyone, didn't tell HSN. People thought, oh, you know, Marla, she's so eccentric. She went back to Europe for a few months. No, through the kindness of strangers, literally, we had a fabulous little 1-bedroom apartment. I stayed with him for 7 months as he went through chemo. I'd fly into Tampa, do my shows and fly out and didn't tell anyone until he was in remission. So, you know, anything that could have gone wrong when I was starting this did. I mean, and but you know, it's like I have a lot of friends in AA and I don't want to think that the only thing they have in common is me and I sent them there, but I've learned from them. I've learned that day at a time.
Yeah, well, it's funny. I really live by that too.
It works. It works. And so my job was to get up every day, one day at a time, and make it happen. And I think in a weird way, my son's illness and the whole way this business started prepared me to really be very COVID, which is horrible, has in a weird way been very good to me because I used it as a time to hole up, be a total agoraphobic. And I designed a men's line, a home line, a lounge line. I've worked on the makeup. We're about to pitch our shoe line. It was a time of incredible creativity because there is a thing, nobody pivots in their career because they're the CEO of a company making 2, 3, 4, or 5 million a year. No, people pivot because they've either retired, they've lost their job, they've been downsized, they can't get what they want, they're unhappy. It's never, I'm so happy, I think I'll stop doing what I'm doing and pivot. No.
Yeah.
And if you are that person, I want to hear from you.
Yeah.
And so you pivot because shit happens.
Yeah.
A lot happened to me, and that's what caused me to pivot. But there is a collateral beauty in that. Sometimes people say, one door closes, another opens. It's the same way of saying it. I mean, take it even my son having cancer.
Yeah.
The collateral beauty was I have a 26-year-old adult son, and we've been living together now since July and haven't killed each other. Right. We're very, very close. We spent precious time together. And even COVID has had its collateral beauty because it brought me the opportunity to close down my New York apartment, come to Colorado where I haven't lived since I was 18 years old, and be here for my parents who are on the last passage of their journey. And I want to be there for them and with them for this passage. So I've had a lot of bad luck and a lot of good luck.
A lot of really good luck. I think COVID's been good for a lot of people in that way. I felt when my kids were home, it was like they were all kind of same as you, kind of in that early 20s stage. And I had not thought that I would ever live with them again, probably. And it was a real kind of opportunity to heal some stuff from those high school years. And it was really quite lovely. Yeah. So I never watched HSN ever. I think I've seen it.
I didn't either. I didn't even know what it was.
I barely know what it is exactly. And so now, I mean, I'm really interested in how it works. How many days a week are you on? How many designers do you employ? Because the clothing is really, I have to say for everyone listening, I had no idea what the clothing was like. Marla sent me a package of stuff this week. It's truly like super soft and comfy, cozy. And the sweater she's wearing, the black one she sent me in red, it's gorgeous. And a pair of pants. What's the price line?
Our average price point is around $70. Now, I will tell you that my clothes have been private labeled to Neiman Marcus, and they've been in Chico's, and we're opening stores now. And, what I can sell on HSN for $90, Neiman's has to charge $300. Why? Because now did you ever see that movie called Joy, about the Joy Mangano story?
No.
He invented this mop and
that's a great movie. Yeah,
it's exactly what it's like. Okay. So what it's like is, so I have what's called a Today's Special coming up in March. They ordered like 30,000 of a top in a bunch of different colors. On HSN, I can in a day, I can do $2-3 million at retail.
Oh my God.
Okay? I can sell 20,000 units of something in a day. Now that's only HSN. I have someone who works for me who's the face of the brand in the UK. She does the same thing. I'm in Italy. I'm in Japan. I'm in Canada. And I have people
also on TV, on the equivalents
on TV, but I don't do it. I'll sometimes, drop in and say hello or buongiorno, or I don't even know how to say hello in Japanese. I just go like this a lot when I'm in Japan. I'm like, yes, thank you so much. But wow, I would have to open up every single Nordstrom store.
I was about to say, if that's the case,
fraction of what I do. And here's the dirty little secret about it. There are what I call the cheap and cheerful brands on HSN and QVC, but I'm not cheap and cheerful. I am neither cheap nor am I particularly cheerful. I wear my own clothes, and I am somebody
elegant, soft.
When I lived in Paris, Dior, Piazza Simpagliani, all those people, they sent me clothes for free. I have always had the most amazing clothes, whether I had to pay for them or whether they were given to me. And when I started this brand, and I am a snob, I said, I'm only going to make clothes I can wear. And the pants I'm wearing are mine. The jewelry I'm wearing is mine. I felt like if I'm going to make clothes, whether somebody who's a teacher or a retired whatever, or somebody who's at the top of her game, whoever's wearing my clothes, if I don't like what I'm making enough to wear them, why should you?
Yeah.
So we do clothes which, you know, I was in Barney's one day wearing one of my toppers, and in the way that only New Yorkers can do,
Yeah.
she walks up to me and she reaches into the back and she goes, "Whose is that?" And I go, "It's mine." Like,
It's mine. Leave me
she
alone.
says to me, "No, I know it's yours. You know, right? You know
Yeah,
that."
yeah, yeah. And you're like,
"No,
no, no,
it's
I need
yours."
this.
But who? And she literally goes, "Marla Wynne? Who is Marla Wynne?" And I said, "Me." And she said, "You designed that?" I said, "Yes." And she said, "What do you sell it for?" And I told her, and she said, "Do you please leave? If we had that here, it would be $800 or $900. And I said, "I know. And why isn't it here?" Well, because I'm a 55-year-old woman, and because I started late in life, and because I would rather dress many, many people
Right.
than, you know, the 200 people that can sit in the front row at the
Well,
Paris
and
rent.
also, frankly, if you're making so much money, I mean, I'm kind of curious, why even bother then with brick and mortar stores or Nordstrom? Is it because it adds?
It gives you a marketing halo,
Okay.
and it allows you to look. Even my girlfriends, I call her the Barney girls, but I guess I'll have to change that to the Bergdorf girls. You know, my girlfriends in New York who are designer queens
Mhm.
are like, "Ooh, HSN." And yet I cannot tell you how much product, you know, those who can wear my size,
Yeah,
that has left my door. And now I'm their dirty little secret, and they
I'm
shop on.
sure. No, because I felt that
You're
way.
shopping and you're like, "Oh, that's going to be icky." And I don't blame you, because I thought it was going to be icky. But I can tell you,
I mean, I wasn't thinking it
I
was going to
wear.
be icky actually, but I was surprised how super nice it is. Like the white jeans you sent me, I think you said you're wearing the black version. They're fabulous. I
Yeah,
mean,
they're peached. They're really soft.
perfect.
And you may not have noticed, but there's a little panel of mesh in them.
No, I didn't notice.
Case your tummy area. Like, you know, in this house, I have two, not one, I'm renting this house, and it comes not with one gym, but two gyms, and I still don't get to the gym. And so I just, I exercise with my mouth. And I will tell you that my tummy, no matter how much weight I've lost, is my challenging place. So that little bit of mesh gives you a little bit of hold. Everything I do comes from my personal experience. What yarns to use because you run hot and cold, and menopause is a pain. You know,
Yeah,
all those little details.
the other thing you sent me that actually really surprised, I thought I was gonna have to return it, you sent me a set, it's like a knit pant and sweater that match. It's kind of in a beige color with like a stripe in the fabric. The pants look great. I thought they wouldn't. I thought for sure they would like show every bulge, and they really are fabulous. It's like
Listen,
a
we make clothes. Like, if you have a vagina, you should have great clothes that fit, right? Whether you're an extra small or a 4X, and I run the gamut. And I have often partnered in my design work with a woman named Madeline Jones, another great woman who started her business on her kitchen table. And she has this business called Plus Model Magazine. It's the largest plus industry go-to magazine. Think of the Anna Wintour of the plus size set.
Mhm.
And I went to Maddie and said, "Teach me everything I need to know about fit for a plus size woman. Teach me what you need." So my business got built on my innate curiosity.
Mhm. Wow,
And I really,
better. Yeah.
if you called me, Nina, and said, "You know, I got this from you, and frankly, blah, 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 and I like this," I am much more interested in your criticism than your compliments, because this business was built one back at a time by listening to what people don't like.
Interesting. Well, I told your assistant the only things I sent back were the crop top because, like, there's no way I'm showing my belly. Like, I don't know.
But you
Maybe,
have to layer under it.
yeah, you have to layer it. See, I don't layer that much, as you can see. This is kind of like a big layering for me. And then you sent me this beautiful jewelry, but it's black, and I just never wear. I wear very little jewelry. Unlike you, I wear like a little bit of gold, and that's it. So I just didn't want to.
Now my jewelry is, I mean, these, I like this.
Gold,
This is one, like, there's two bracelets. I used to play with Slinky when I was a kid,
yeah,
and I always thought it would make the coolest bracelet. So that's sort of what I did.
yeah,
And
that looks great there.
you know, and I put two of them together because I love the look.
Yeah.
And, you know,
No, your
my
jewelry is
jewelry is
fabulous.
much bolder than my clothes. My clothes are in, sort of, think early Donna Karan,
That's what I was going to say. It's kind of early Donnie Karen.
meets, you know, with a little bit of, I don't know, a little bit of Eileen Fisher, a little bit of All Saints. It's like edgy. I don't want to walk out of the house feeling like I'm a refugee from an artist colony. I want to stay cool and hip. And I think too much Eileen Fisher is just too artsy fartsy for me, plus super expensive.
Yeah.
And I loved what Donna Karan did in the early days of like her 7 easy pieces. I like to keep it simple, stupid. I don't think dressing should be an effort. I don't think you should. People do judge a book by its cover. We all care how we look,
Of course.
but who we are and what we do is way more important. Unless you're a model, how you look, you look the best you're ever going to look.
That's right. This
At
is
this
it.
moment.
Not getting anything.
So you might as well focus on what you can hold till the day you die, which is your brain and your heart and your friends.
Yeah. Yeah. And be comfortable.
Money comes and goes. I've learned that, boy.
Money comes and goes. It's so great, Marla. Really interesting. So can you tell our listeners and viewers how to find your clothing?
You go to, you're mainly US based, right?
Mainly, although we have women in Europe actually, and in Australia. I mean, we have women kind of all over, but mostly.
Okay. So in the United States, you go to hsn.com and it's under Marla Wynne Collection.
And you can buy it, even though it's HSN, you can buy it online. You don't have to buy it like by phone. I'm sorry, I really have never done it.
No. So, right? I know.
I thought you called, but that's probably very outdated.
Well, I think in the beginning, that's how they did it, Nina. I think we had to call and talk to some service rep who was probably.
I think so. That's like my memory of.
Right now what you can call in, like my mother's 87 years old and she gets frustrated and their website's a little clunky in my opinion. So, she calls in. So you go to hsn.com, you put in the search bar Marla Wynne, and I think we've got 170 some jewelry styles and 300 and some apparel styles. And I will tell you that in next year, you're going to start seeing our clothes show up in some of the better named stores, because I'm also in the process now of launching a whole new business under a whole new trademark. That is, I'm really excited about it. It's, I'm very excited about that.
It's not going to be called Marla Wynne. It's going to be called something else.
Correct. And it's going to be something else. It's really going to be, think Everlane for grownups. Everlane is great. And I own some pieces because my manufacturer makes for them, but they stop at a size large or extra large. It's a lot of it's crop, short.
Yeah.
So basically I've taken that and created a brand that's based on basics. Because if you look in your closet, I'm sure it's like mine, it's black and white and a few pops and a lot of heather gray. We're going to sell black, white, and heather gray. We're going to,
I think
very
it really, we do start to want a uniform. I mean, that's really, I totally wear a uniform. I have like a couple.
You're too damn busy to worry about.
And also, what works at this point, and there's a lot that doesn't work anymore. Like, I don't want to experiment too much. I feel like a good sweater, a good pair of pants, a good pair of boots, gold jewelry. Like, I know what I wear.
And you're done.
Yeah.
So that's what I think too. So what I've done is I've taken the 10 years of learning to design and fit our changing bodies and our changing lifestyle.
Yeah.
And I've created a collection that's really built on the notion of shop your shape. Because if you're a petite woman, there's certain things that you need. If you're a petite plus size woman, you need other things. If you're a tall woman, if you're, a pear shaped, an apple shaped, we have shapes.
We've actually had a couple of threads just recently in the Woolfer community about being petite and how nothing fits and how hard it is to be smaller and find the right thing.
Well, write to me. I'll tell you where to go and what to get. But we are distributed on QVC UK, which serves all of the United Kingdom. We are in Japan. We are in Italy. And every once in a while we ship to Australia, but the units are so small and it's difficult, but that's TVSN. And then we opened up 200 plus doors in Chico's because their CEO really wanted to update the look. And she knew me through a woman named Jeannie Becker in Canada, who's sort of the expert of fashion in Canada. And Jeannie's friends with, Jeannie had a clothing line that she did for the former head of Hudson Bay, who then became the chairman of the board of Chico's. And Bonnie called her and said, Marla did my whole collection that you bought when I launched. You should look at her stuff. So I flew to Chico's, showed them my stuff. We opened up in over 200 stores. It was so successful. And when do you think the collection dropped? February 15th of last
Ah,
year.
so
So we only had like 3 weeks on the floor, and then all of a sudden,
I see. So, but that means now if you go into a Chico's, you can find
there's
Marla
a
Wynne
few
Ginsburg.
pieces left on sale, but their business is consolidated.
Hmm,
And I was the only collaboration they had ever done. It was Marla Wynne for Chico's. So it was a real
okay.
collaboration, but we're working on setting up other collaborations. And listen, it's luck. That's for sure.
Well,
But
it's not. It's luck and outlook and personality and gumption and being open. And I mean,
and it's grit.
it's
You gotta
grit.
have, you know what?
Yeah.
You gotta have guts. And you just have to push through the days where you don't even want to get out of bed. I
Yeah.
always tell people, if you really want to reinvent your life, first of all, like it's like I used to teach at the American Film Institute, and I'd go there and you get these young kids, they're like just off the bus, and they'd raise their hand and go, I have the greatest idea for a script. I really want to be a writer. And I said, great. Did you write the script? Well, no. And well, do you want to tell me what it's about? No, I'm afraid somebody will steal it.
Oh my
And I'd
God.
say, let me tell you something. You can still get your money back from AFI. Go get your money. Because
Yeah.
if you want to be a writer, shut up, sit down, write.
Right. Okay.
If you want to create a business, quit talking about it, do
Do
the
it.
research and do it. So the first thing you have to do is do it.
Yeah. No, I'm a big, one of my mottos is why do later what you can do now? If you have something you want to do it. You're
Do
only,
it. And the thing is, you're probably going to be doing something that you don't know about as much as whatever it is you do today.
so true. Yeah.
But here's the thing. And this is where studying stand-up comedy and improv really paid off. The number one rule of improv is if I throw you a paper bag filled with shit, you got to grab that paper bag and make something wonderful to it and embrace it and throw it back to me. Well, life will throw you paper bags full of shit.
Yeah.
And your days will do that.
Yeah.
And the key is on those days, remember it's a moment in time.
Yeah.
And remember that every time you make a mistake, you're learning. If you're not screwing up, if you're not making mistakes, you aren't learning by
Yeah.
definition.
I so
Learning is the acquisition of knowledge we don't have. So you're going to have to make mistakes. You're going to make a fool of yourself. There's going to be days, and believe me, in front of my kids, there were days when I was just like, I'm so sorry, I'm your mother. I apologize, because I was a hot mess and scared to death.
yeah. Yeah.
But no, I did try and throw a few pity parties, I will admit, but nobody came.
No,
Nobody's interested.
I really, no one's interested. That's the other thing. It's another good rule of thumb in life is no one cares as much as you think they do. They just don't. It's up to you to figure it
That
out.
handful of people who love you. I mean, even when Jason got sick, I was so amazed at who was there for me and who wasn't. And then I realized that when something inexplicably horrible happens to someone's child, it's almost impossible for people to talk to you,
Yeah. It's very
because the pain that they imagine, which is the pain you're having,
Yeah.
there are no words. There are no, what's somebody going to say to me? Oh, I'm so sorry. It's not your fault.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's
No, I
nothing.
don't even mean that people don't love you. I think we have lots of love in our life, but people aren't looking at you and saying, oh, she's not doing a good job or she is doing a good job. People just don't care. Everyone's focused on themselves, basically. Everyone's, people are very, it's just, it's up to us to kind of figure out how we want the world.
But you touched on something important, Nina, because one of the things that you talk about a lot, and I talk about a lot, is why do women still get paid less than men? Why is it that 11% of all artwork acquired by any art museum in this country, 11% is done by women? And that goes back to the Renaissance. That includes the Renaissance forward. Why is that? And what is it that we as women do well? And what is it that we do badly? And my theory, having worked for John Feldheimer, who runs Lionsgate in those days, New World, and worked for him and some of the biggest names in Hollywood and in Europe. Men have this way of like beating the shit out of each other in business, right? They'll do whatever. It's business.
Right.
And
Right.
then they'll say, you want to go play golf? And it's over.
Right. Women take it personally.
Well, we didn't learn team sports. At least I didn't. You're 10 years, 15 years younger.
I didn't either.
So we didn't learn team sport. I played tennis and ski. Okay. It's not a team thing. And I wish if I had it to do all over, I would have made my daughter play team sports, because in team sports, you learn to beat the crap out of each other and go get a beer and get over it. Yeah, I knocked you down. It's football. What did you want me to do? But we're like, right. And we're taught to compete with each other. We compete for men, we compete for jobs, we compete, but we don't know how to compete together. And when I was in LA, it was something I observed because of I was part of the New World crowd, and it was, a very interesting group of fabulous men. And I was the young thing in the group, and I learned from them. And I started a thing called the Girls. And the Girls was a group of executives, some of whom are still very, very successful and active in Hollywood. And the girls were about 12 of us. It started. And our credo was, if one of us was unemployed, it was the job of everyone else to find her a job. And we stayed together until I moved to Europe. And I will tell you, our unemployment rate, the government should think about this, was zero. Somebody might have been unemployed for a very short period of time, but we took care of each other. We didn't think, oh, if Carol gets this job, it's bad for me. Or if this one it was like, no, the more powerful women in powerful places, the better for all of us. And the more that we help each other, and the more that we support each other, and not in bullshit ways.
No, in real ways. Yeah. I mean, that's a personal mindset, I think. Like I'm just not by nature a particularly competitive person. And I do believe in abundance. It's just part of my nature. There's enough to go around.
There is.
But a lot of people, or some people, don't feel that way. And I do think it holds people back.
See, we are all different. We aren't created equal. That's a fact.
Right.
That's why some of us are prettier or thinner or taller or whatever.
Yeah.
The only person I've ever competed with is myself. Because tennis, with tennis, it's, yes, you're competing against someone, but you have to, how many times did I hit it over the net? How many times? Skiing, how fast can I get down? How big are moguls? That's where I learned to compete. And I've always been so grateful. And there's been a group of them, of women who were usually older than I was, definitely more successful than me, who just gave me advice. But I was willing to hear advice that I didn't, you don't want to hear. Marla, you do this wrong.
It goes back to what you said before about making mistakes. I mean, we all fuck up. We all make mistakes. We have to be learning from them all the time. We have to be willing to hear the hard criticism. That gets easier, I think, as we get older. I find it easier now.
Well, because I think we accept who we are. It's I can give you a list of all the ways that I annoy myself.
I know what my strengths are and what my weaknesses are. I know.
My son was saying to me the other day, he was like, because I was like, Jason, you should, the shoulds, the mother shoulds, you should do this, and he'd like to tell me where I could put my shoulds. And he said, well, you should do this and you should do that. And I said, yeah, I'm 65. It's not happening.
Right. I find myself saying that too.
I'm done. I'm baked. I may get smarter, right? We may learn things. Yeah. I will tell you one thing. I think the rough edges smooth out.
They definitely do. Well, I would say that I think for people who have done work on themselves, they smooth out. I've seen some people who, I think we become more of who we are as we get older. And the people who have really no self-awareness can get a little scary. But I think if you've kind of worked on yourself, generally the edges smooth out.
What made you launch this, what you're doing?
Really completely because I wasn't sleeping suddenly. And I'm sorry, I'm lisping because I got braces this week. It's making me crazy. They're inside, so you can't see.
You're not lisping.
Oh, it's driving me crazy. But basically, I'd had a background in book publishing for many years, and I stopped working in book publishing after I got divorced. I went to graduate school in something called narrative medicine. I've always been really interested in women's lives and loss and kind of ideas around transition. And suddenly I was 46 and I wasn't sleeping well. And I realized after Googling that I was going through perimenopause. And I literally just wanted a place to talk to I was like, why has no one told me this was going to happen to me? vaginal atrophy and back fat and
Oh, back fat. Don't you love the back fat thing? I
oh,
love back
that's
fat.
so gross. I mean, now I'm
I
used to it.
add
And
an inch, by the way, in all my tops over a standard spec. I added an inch on the flat.
oh,
So
that's good.
to
That's very fun.
accommodate back flat, back fat. Carry on.
No, I mean, I was really just trying to address my own need to talk about aging and kind of like I wanted to acknowledge how kind of sad it felt to feel like I might be irrelevant or that I was losing my looks. Like I wanted to kind of reconcile all these feelings. It was interesting because I was 46 and the community grew and I started to learn from all these older women who said to me, it's going to get better. It gets better when you get through menopause. And I was like, eh. And now I'm 51 and I feel great. And it really is like there's a kind of tipping point where you feel like, I mean, what makes it worth it is kind of that it is easier to take criticism, that I do feel more wise, that I don't like that I know when I feel bad, like I have to just put one foot in front of the other and that it's going to pass. Like there's a lot that I don't I don't feel like I need to prove myself the way I did in my 40s. So I've learned a lot from the women in the community and will continue to. I mean, like, and I love having women who are like in their 60s and 70s. And because of course I'm only 51, there's so much ahead of me in this process,
Think about it. There's 14 years that separate us. Now, of course, in my self-denial, I look at you and go, oh, we're the same age, but we're
Well,
not.
I always say we're the same age. No, but my boyfriend's 62. All my friends have always been older. So all my friends are kind of late 50s, early 60s. I had kids super young when I was like 23. But you're right, we're not the same age. I always think we are too,
But the thing is that it levels out. It's like there is a place of like I watch my daughter. Oh my God, she's 29 years old and she's finding her way in her career and her love life and this and that. And my heart bleeds for her. And
same. I have 3 daughters. I know.
and you know what to tell her. Like, I want to go, that guy. Oh, that guy. Yeah, that is a landmine and it's going to blow up on you. And I just hope it does before you're pregnant, but you can't. You have to sit there and go, oh God, oh God, oh God.
Yeah.
And you know what? I have said to my mother so many times, I am so sorry. I am so sorry. I remember when my daughter was born, the first thing after they told me all appendages and everything was operative, the first thing that came to my mind is, Mom, I'm so sorry. Because I realized the shit and the heartbreak and the worry. It's like the minute you give birth,
I know.
You understand your parents. And I think the minute you get on the other side of menopause, because I think menopause, we should get like battle pay.
Yeah.
It's like, excuse me, I'm going to be insane for the next couple of years.
Right.
You can take all the hormones you want to. You're still going to be screwy.
Right. It's just rough.
But when you get out the other side and you realize I had this much life already, I got like this, unless you're living to over 100, you're not middle-aged.
Yeah.
I'm looking at the next 15, 20 years. Mm-hmm. That's what I have. Now, I may get more, but I'm going to be in diapers and I don't want to be.
Exactly.
So, my uterus will have prolapsed, right? I don't want to be there.
Right. No, I always think I literally, when I got braces a couple of weeks ago, I was like, I figure I have 10, 15 years left. I'd rather have straight teeth. That's kind of what I was thinking.
So, but because time, which was always in front of us, possibilities are still in front of us. Opportunities are in front of us. Today's 65 is not yesterday's.
Right.
And listen, with the strides they are making, if our government doesn't screw it all up, I think we finally got a chance. I pray. It's like, oh, isn't it a relief?
Yeah, no.
And I feel to myself, like, if we don't screw this up, if we get through this COVID, if we employ the people who have been unemployed, right? I mean, there is so much damage that's come from COVID that isn't just the 500,000.
Yeah, no, it's going to be rough recovering for sure.
But there is so much opportunity ahead of us because there is still that, my brother who ran for governor here in Colorado is very, informed. He's sort of my news source. And he said, by the time COVID's over, 80% of the restaurants in Colorado will probably be out of business. Oh, and you think, oh my God, that's horrible. And it is horrible, but there will be 80%
there'll be opportunity.
New. And those people who learn what they learned there will create other businesses. This still is a country where we have incredible opportunity. And the one thing that annoys the hell out of me, and I said this to my friend Madeline, there's a brouhaha about, body, what's the word? Like, that we need to respect plus size people. We need tall people, thin people, people with learning disabilities, gender equality. Everything gets equality. Everything's supposed to be respected. You know what doesn't get respect? Aging.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're trying to change that, but I agree with you. Yeah, it's like the last frontier, because you're right. Everyone can be gay and transgender and
yeah, I can be a
disabled,
whatever. Right. And I can, be what I can, whatever. That's all okay. But God forbid I should turn 65. So here's my thing that I say to every time I speak to groups of younger women, I say, you have this equality, that equality, and it's all correct. It's all correct. We have to respect one another on this planet. I don't care if you're Christian, Jewish, Muslim, I don't care what you are. Respect is the thing that cuts through everything. We all have children. We all want to love our children. We all want a good life.
Yeah.
Right. But every one of you who's younger than me, if you're lucky, you'll get to be my age.
Right.
So it is the one great equalizer. And I am so delighted that something like this exists, because if we don't teach our daughters that youth cannot be your most prized quality, and your looks cannot be your primary commodity, because this I can guarantee you, your looks will change, your youth will leave you. Yeah. And if you don't allow your intelligence, your heart, your circle of friends surround you, you're going to have nothing. Yeah. And I really believe there needs to be more voices out there talking about aging, which doesn't have to all be depressing. There are parts of it that are not fun.
I think there are, and there are more coming. I really do believe now that's something that's shifting. Even in the 5 years since we started the Woolfer, there's so much more talk about aging and menopause and women's health. But I agree with you. It's an uphill climb. Marla, this has been so great. Love talking to you. So everyone listening, find Marla's clothing. It's Marla Wynne, Wynne, on hsn.com. It really is fabulous stuff. I love it. And we'll be watching as you grow and create this new line coming in the next year.
Well, you know what? When we're ready to talk about it, we'll give you a call and we'll give you a sneak peek.
I'd love it. So fun. And I can't wait to talk to you more. Yeah, really great to see you. Thank you. Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.